Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is titled, Time is Precious. Recently, while scrolling through YouTube, I noticed a few videos that all revolved around the same concept. Advice people would give to their younger selves if they had the chance. It really struck a chord with me because a lot of what they said rang true. One major takeaway, something I've thought about for a long time, is that we all have a limited amount of time on this earth. We can't escape that reality. What we can do, though, is decide how we spend that time, and that's where the real power lies. Our time. Our choices. You see, we each have this gift, this finite resource, and the way we use it shapes everything. What makes it so important is that it's not like money or things that you can get back once they're gone. Once time slips away, it's gone for good. That's why it's so crucial to be mindful about how we're spending it. And that's a hard lesson for a lot of us to learn. I mean, think about it. You don't want to find yourself in your 30s or 40s, looking back on your 20s and realizing you squandered all that time. You don't want to be stuck in regret, wishing you had done more or lived differently when you had the chance. The truth is, time has this weird way of both teaching us and slipping away from us. As we get older, sure, we learn from the mistakes we've made, and that's great. But unfortunately, time doesn't stop while you figure things out. That's why it's so important to start early, to be conscious of how you're spending those precious moments, because the last thing you want is to be left wondering, where did all the time go? Now, here's where time can really mess with you. Sometimes, it feels like what we're doing is a total waste. Why? Because society, our friends, our families, or even strangers will try to tell us that what we're doing isn't valuable. They'll plant these doubts in our heads, make us second-guess ourselves, and suddenly we start believing that maybe we are wasting our time. But here's the thing. You know deep down if something is meaningful to you. And if it is, then it's not a waste of time. If you truly believe in what you're doing, if it lights you up, you've got to trust that feeling. Keep going. I can tell you from personal experience, the times in my life where I was most fulfilled were the times I was doing things I loved. It didn't matter what anyone else thought, because at the end of the day, I was living for me, not for their approval. That's the mindset you've got to cultivate. Do what makes you happy, and let the rest of the world say what they want. They're not living your life. You are. And here's the kicker. There are no do-overs. You don't get to hit a reset button on your life and try again. So why would you waste it living someone else's version of your life? You've got to take control of your time and make it count. Now, let's talk about something that a lot of people struggle with, getting stuck in a life they don't even enjoy. Too many people are grinding away in jobs they hate, telling themselves, well, in 10 or 20 years, I'll be happy. I'll have the life I want then. But what if you don't have 10 or 20 years? What if you don't even have tomorrow? It sounds dark, but it's reality. People drop dead all the time from things they never saw coming. You could be the healthiest person in the world and still die from something like a random brain aneurysm. That's just how life works sometimes. So why put off living until someday when someday might never come? Life starts now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when you hit some imaginary milestone. Right now. If you know what you want to do with your life, if you know what makes you happy, stop waiting. Make it happen. Time isn't waiting for you, and it sure isn't going to pause while you figure things out. It just keeps ticking by, whether you're ready or not. I get it, sometimes it's easier to put things off. We convince ourselves we have plenty of time, that we'll figure it out later. But later turns into months, then years. And before you know it, you're stuck in the same place. Still waiting for the right time. If you know what you want, and you have the means to go after it, stop making excuses. Stop telling yourself there will be a better moment down the road, because for all you know, this is your moment. Here's another thing that gets me. How people love to compare how they spend their time with others. We see it all the time. Maybe someone spends their free time playing video games, and another person spends theirs hiking or hitting the gym. And suddenly, we start to judge. Oh, I'm more productive because I'm out doing something physical, and they're just sitting there wasting time. But that's nonsense. Just because someone's spending their time differently doesn't mean it's less valuable. It's not a competition. Your time is yours to spend how you see fit. Whether you're hiking mountains or gaming, if it brings you joy, if it's fulfilling, then that's what matters. At the end of your life, whenever that may be, you don't want to look back and feel like you wasted your time trying to meet someone else's expectations. You want to look back knowing you spent your time doing things that made you happy, that you surrounded yourself with people who brought meaning to your life. That's another important point. Spending time with people who matter. Life is short, not just for us, but for everyone we care about. One day, the people you love might not be here anymore, so it's crucial to make the time for them while you can. You know, life is all about balance. You have to figure that out as you go. Maybe if you're smart, you'll learn from those who've been around longer than you, those who've already figured some things out. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide how you spend your time and who you spend it with. That's a decision you have to make carefully because, again, you don't get that time back. So, if you take anything from this rant, let it be this. Be mindful of how you're spending your time. Really think about it. Ask yourself, is this helping me grow? Is this making me a better person? Will I look back in a year and be glad I spent my time this way? Because those are the questions that matter. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of Moore's October Rants. Signing out now, have a good one. And don't forget, time waits for no one. Goodbye.